What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Big Dog Brett. Thanks so much for tuning in. Today, doing a Black Friday show. I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. Yesterday was a great day. Got a chance to get out and spend some time with my daughter, doing a little hunting, and come back and had a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner courtesy of my wonderful wife, who pretty much cooked all day. And man, did she do it up! We had of course, turkey, and she brined the turkey this year. Man, it was killer. We cook it in an oven, turkey roaster. We don't cook it in an oven, or she does. I don't do nothing. Obviously a little under the weather, but we're gonna be fine. So today yesterday she also made the age-old classic of green bean casserole. She also made squash casserole. She made homemade stuffing. What else did she make? Handmade rice, mashed potatoes, deviled eggs, cranberry sauce. What's up? Also, she made by hand from scratch Dutch apple pie, pumpkin pie. She made the crust and everything by hand. She did not make the brown and serve rolls by hand. Those I think that's about the only thing she didn't make by hand. What else was there? Man, there was so much good stuff. There's so much food up there. Can't eat it all. Really want to say appreciate everybody being here. I know you guys a lot of us have the day off, so I thought I'd spend some time with you guys. Just kind of enjoyed watching the football game last night. I was really tired. I was really exhausted. Nasty headache. I was actually laying in bed watching the game, and I want to talk about this game. There was a call in this. There was a call in this game that I had never heard before in college. I'd heard it in pro a time or two, but I had never heard it in college. We'll talk about it here in a minute. So, Joey Foster says, I'm here because Kobe shared the stream link. Just letting you know the dude went out of his way for you. Man, I appreciate that, Kobe. Kobe's good people. I don't care what the sheriff in his town says about him. I like him. Good guy. Let's go ahead and run through the chat section here and see who we got. Colby, good morning this morning, sir. Of course, one of our resident members. You too can join and support the channel by the join button down below. We have a couple different levels of membership, and that just helps keep the channel going. It's not a lot of time. It's not a ton of money, but what it does is it allows me to continue to drink coffee for these streams. That's about how much it affords. So, if you want to donate, you can donate. There's Cash App. There's what else is there? There's the super sticker, super chats. You can become a member, all that fun stuff. You don't have to, but we appreciate those who do. We appreciate those who hang out and just join the community and be a member here. Uncle Glenn Hartley, how you doing? Welcome. Appreciate you. TikTok just saw how you doing. P Digits. Oh yeah, and of course our resident contributor, Mr. Keith Carr. Thank you for being here, sir. Mr. Keith Carr has recently got me involved in playing Warzone, where I lose a lot of weapons in the DMZ, courtesy of him, but it's a lot of fun. Appreciate that, sir. Goose Sports, how you doing, sir? And look at this yo-yo, Mr. Traveling Fools. 225 girl, how you doing? What it is? Pastor Dave, another one of our resident members. Thank you, here, sir. Traveling Fool says it's Colby's fault. I'm here too. Blame it on him. maybe you guys should blame him because I can't attest to how good the quality of this show is going to be. There's probably a lot of other things you could be watching. It's probably a little more interesting than what I'm doing. So there we go. If you guys want to join the show, feel free to jump in today. It's just kind of a laid back, relaxed weekend. You guys feel free to contribute, be part of the show, all that fun stuff. Obviously, there is a ton of talk last night. If you watched that game, man, what a great game. If you were an Ole Miss fan, man, you had to be pretty upset. You had to be pretty upset. I was not an Ole Miss fan, but I can certainly see why they'd have been mad about that one. Woo, that was rough. So yeah, I appreciate that, Pastor Dave. I'm glad you have low standards, though, sir. I really am, because it makes it easy to do a great job. So now this, you guys know back on Tuesday, I don't think we did a Wednesday show. Maybe we did. I don't remember. I don't think we did. Did we? I don't know. It doesn't matter. We're doing a show now. So, the college football playoff come out, and guys, listen. If you are, excuse me, if you are one of those people who is looking at the rankings right now, and you are saying, well, if Georgia beats LSU and USC loses, and then we know somebody in Michigan, Ohio State's going to lose, that'll put Bama in the 4th spot. If you're one of those people, please stop doing that. Please stop doing that. You're making the rest of the Alabama fans look bad. Mississippi State and the Pirate took down Ole Miss and the Lane Train. So they did that. We'll talk about it here in a minute, but where's it at here? We got an outside shot of making the Sugar Bowl. You guys can make it. You guys are gonna make a. A New Year's Six Bowl for sure, but I don't know who you're gonna end up playing. If you guys end up playing TCU, you'll kill them. But we'll see what happens. So currently the standings are Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, LSU, USC, Alabama, Clemson, Oregon, Tennessee. Man, this Tennessee one, I got to tell you guys, this kind of rubs me the wrong way. It really does. Tennessee has 2 losses. One of them is to Georgia. I understand that one. And the other one is to South Carolina. Alabama, on the other hand, has 2 losses. One being to Tennessee and the other one being to LSU. I just have a hard problem putting Alabama over Tennessee, considering that Tennessee beat them. I really do. That bothers me. It just bothers me. What's up, Rob D? How bad do you think our Dogs beat Tech by? I think it really is. That's going to come out to be determined how does Kirby Smart want to play this? Does he want to go out and hang 40 on the board because he hates Georgia Tech and risk injuring somebody, or is he going to slow roll it like he did against Kentucky? I don't know. The defense is obviously going to play lights out. Now, currently, Bryce Young is Bryce Young out for the season? I heard that he was, and then I heard that he wasn't. I haven't really dug into it. I really have not dug into it yet. Somebody asked what the bowl games were for the playoffs and stuff. Fiesta Bowl and the Peach Bowl. PlayStation Fiesta Bowl and the what was the name of the other one? Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Should call it the Chick-fil-A Peach Shake Bowl. That's what they should call it. Who will Tennessee play in a bowl game? Ooh, you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if they end up playing somebody like Oregon. I think somebody would like to see that. If Clemson doesn't manage to get in, maybe Clemson. I don't want to see him play TCU. I don't want to. I mean, I would love to see him play like a Michigan or an Ohio State, but it's possible right now. I mean, right now we legitimately, in my opinion, have 6 contenders for the playoff spots. So that would be Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, USC, and Clemson. All those teams are either undefeated or have 1 loss. So yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing them play Clemson. Wouldn't mind seeing them play Clemson. That'd be interesting. I just got a message from somebody. Who's messaging me? Who that deal? Christmas cookies. I'm good. Okay. So he's not playing. No, he's not playing a bowl game, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. We'll see. And then watch Ole Miss and Miss State win their bowl game and go 9-4. Hey, good morning. Hey, Keith, you got time to jump in, man? I really want to get your input on this play call in the Mississippi game. Well, the offense is still pretty decent, but I think the defense is just terrible. And I mean, it reminds me of Oklahoma. A few years back when they had this phenomenal offense and their defense was just horrible. It's like, yeah, you can hang 60 points on the board, but you're letting the other team hang 65, 70. It's like you're not even trying to play defense. Orange versus Orange, Tennessee versus Clemson. If they play that game, I would want to see TV. I would want to see Tennessee play in that smoke gray they have. I like that on them. Hey, what's going on, Keith?
Hey, what's up, guys? What's up?
Hey, I want to get your input on this. Did you watch that game?
Yes, I did.
Stand by.
Yeah.
I just screwed up. I really screwed up. I hit the wrong button. And now I can't see anything. So hang on. I'm still trying to get it fixed. Come on.
Got you. The video looks fine, so I guess it's just your monitor.
I was trying to turn the volume up so I could hear you, and I hit the wrong button, and I changed my input on my monitor. And then when I tried to change the input button again, I hit the off button. It's that high quality content that we pay for here. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, I got you.
Okay, there we go. So, I wanted to get. Hey, what's going on, Uncle Royce? How's the weather down there in the land down under? Time forgot in Florida. Did you happen to watch the game?
I did.
And I'm just going to kind of hand it to you here and ask you what did you think about that game overall, the whole perspective on it.
First of all, I'm getting a little feedback from myself. I can hear myself over here stuff.
All right, let me turn it down. How's that?
We'll see. I thought it was a good game. I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about the backwards pass play, right?
Well, yeah, that, and there's something else I want to talk about too. So the going for it on fourth down when it was a chip shot of a field goal cost them the game.
Yeah.
So Ole Miss, I think it was in the first or second quarter. It was early on, or maybe it was early in the second half. I was tired. They get down there. It's a 2-score game. I think it was 14-16 at that point or something similar. And they had an opportunity to kick a field goal, and they decided to go for it. And I'm thinking to myself, the moment that I saw that, I'm like, this is a mistake. This is a big mistake.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of the first half, but I did watch the ending, or the last half, or the second half, and the ending of the game. Yes, I didn't catch the first half.
So, and of course, with Mississippi State winning by 2 points, 3 points here was huge. Mm-hmm. And so I watched that and I just went, what are you doing? I was like, I mean, I understand that you want to get a touchdown here. I really do. But this game is super close. And on top of that, if you don't get it, it's a huge momentum swing.
Yeah.
You really fire up their defense. This is a bad call. I mean, this can go good. Okay, it's good, and you're up by 5 points. Or it can go nightmarishly wrong, which it did. And you breathed life back into a team that you had really been that defense you really had been pounding on. So I saw that and I went, wow, man, that was
particularly with the weather too, I mean,
oh man. So watching it's like I won't say the first time. It's the first time in a long time I have seen the news announcers actually. Hey, congratulations, Sarah, by the way. Glad you're feeling better. First time I've seen announcers like show the weather radar, right? And I'm like, man, they're going to end up stopping this game because of lightning, because it looked really bad coming in, but fortunately they didn't. But when I say it was pouring rain there, I was very surprised they even threw the ball at all.
Yeah.
So if you go back and you look at this game and you say, okay, it was absolutely pouring rain. It was pouring rain in this game. You say, okay, well, they must have ran the ball a lot. Well, No, they passed the ball between the two teams almost 80 times, 80 passes.
Yeah.
In pouring rain, I'm like, wow, that's a little bit ridiculous. And that's because neither team could run the ball. Neither team could run the ball effectively. There was times when you had Jaquavius who would hit a big run. I think Dylan Johnson hit a big run. I think Quinshawn he hit one big run. But other than that, it was terrible. Now Will Rogers hurt Mississippi State's rushing quite a bit because he
Yeah.
lost like 37 yards on a couple of sacks, so it's pretty bad on that. But Mississippi State averaged 2.6 yards a rush, and Ole Miss only got 2 yards a rush. 2 yards. That was terrible. And I was thinking, it's in the rain, man. It should have been a lot more rushes.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
This
this is
is
what you get when you have these type of offenses. I mean,
yeah,
the air raids and the Lane Kiffin type offenses, and when you don't necessarily like spend a lot of time developing a run game, what happens when you get in these games? And it goes over to the Georgia Kentucky game. I mean, that's one of the most surprising. And I know we'll talk about this game a little bit more, but um, that's the thing that other teams have got to be scared about Georgia, right? I mean, they throughout this year they have showed that they can play any type of football.
yeah, and
Like
it,
you
it
got
doesn't.
weather, okay, we'll pound the rock, win a close game.
Yep.
Tennessee, we need to air it out and just blow you away. Well, we can do that too. And so that's what I saw in this game. I mean, the weather wasn't too bad in the first half. The little bit that I watched in the second half, it definitely got worse. And you would think a team that was at least somewhat comfortable running the ball would spend a little bit of time doing that. And I mean, it looked like Mississippi State started to be able to run the ball a little bit in the second half, but yeah, I mean, watching the game from my perspective, Mississippi State seemed to be a lot more physical than Ohio State. It seemed like they wanted. I mean, not Ohio State. Ole Miss. Sorry, Mississippi State seemed to be a little bit more physical than Ole Miss, and um, it felt like for some reason that Mississippi State was just going to blow this game out. I mean, they just seemed like they were the more physical team the whole time, and up until the Will Rogers fumble, it really felt like they were fixing to just put it away.
Yeah, they were down there at the goal line, and they went to put it away. And Will Rogers, if he doesn't fumble right there, that game's over. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, for sure.
it's essentially over. And then you have Mississippi State comes down. Ole Miss comes down the field. I mean, they start on the 1 yard line and they come down the field. Um, Now they get out to the end zone and they get the touchdown and they absolutely blew the 2 point conversion. They
Yeah,
Miami
what
had
was
that
that
two
play
point
call?
conversion sniffed out. That was the dumbest thing they've done
Yeah,
all game.
yeah. Even if they completed it, of course, the defensive guy for Mississippi State made a great play getting his hand on that ball. But even if they completed that, it looked like he was going to be tackled short.
It was going to be short.
I don't think he was going to get in. And I mean, that was just a very like I get it. You want to fool them on the 2 point conversion, but to me, those little inside shovel passes like that are just such a low percentage. I mean, you're asking for everything to go right at the line of scrimmage in order to complete the pass, number one, and number two, for him to actually have, a lane to get into the end zone. It's like if you're going to run that play, just hand it off and let your. I
Right.
mean, your O line has still got to make the same blocks. If the hole doesn't open up, he's not scoring regardless. So
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're banking on them, on the line just kind of opening up because it looks like it's a pass, but I don't know. That was just a really, really high or low percentage play to call in a situation like that.
I can't remember the name of the lineman that got his hand up, but man, what a phenomenal job for that young
Yeah.
man. He read the quarterback. He was aware that something weird might happen, and he was just he didn't have blinders on. And
Yeah.
he got his hand out just enough to disrupt it. I mean, it was a great performance by him. Now, I want to back up a little bit, and I want to talk about the play where Ole Miss throws the ball at least lateral, if not backwards. So the line judge has to say whether it's a forward pass or a backwards pass. He doesn't get to make a determination of if it's a straight lateral. And for the most part, that doesn't matter. Excuse me. He said it was a backwards pass. You could argue it's a lateral. The call on the field was that backwards pass. So not enough video evidence there to overturn that. I understand that. Get that 100%. The problem I have is that Mississippi State immediately recovers the ball and they blow it dead. So one referee blows it dead after another has already said backwards pass. It's like, well, that's you can't do that. So because of that, they stopped the play and they called an inadvertent whistle. And an inadvertent whistle, according to the NC rules and regulations, basically says that if there is a whistle that is blown, the result of the play is the ball is dead. They determine that a whistle was blown improperly, called an inadvertent whistle, and then they replay the down. It's as if that down never existed. That call was made. Then, because of protests from either the coaches or the other referees on the field, they went back and reviewed it.
Yeah, it was all super confusing.
And I went, if you've already made the call of an inadvertent whistle, which is what happened, it's 100% what happened. That play is supposed to be replayed. Now, I'm not pulling for Ole Miss or Mississippi State. I could care less who wins that game. Fabergé Egg Bowl doesn't matter to me. But, see you later, Sunil. What I'm talking about is whenever you get a whistle like that and everybody's like, what just happened? A determination is made, and then they go to play, and then the coaches are like, wait a minute. No. And so the first coach is like, the play is right, which was Lane Kiffin. He was like, okay, that's what happened. Understand? Let's play. The players didn't do anything wrong. The referees got it wrong, and that potentially screwed up this entire game.
Oh, absolutely. Both teams got screwed on the play. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, to me, when it happened, I thought it was a lateral pass, and I saw the Mississippi State players. It reminded me a lot of the Alabama play with, they were just picking the ball up, didn't really think anything. And then the guy thought, oh, well, let me take off running with it,
right.
And that should have been a touchdown. Because I mean, and then you get the inadvertent whistle. And so then they're going to tell us that the whole play doesn't count. And so, okay. And then they end up, just giving the turnover, but at the spot or something like that. It's like, wow. I mean,
they screwed it up in every way possible. It's like, first of all, the play doesn't count. You're supposed to have the ball. You don't have the ball. You're supposed to have a touchdown, but you're not getting it. So you get the ball here where you touched it.
Yeah. It's like, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had actually kind of stopped paying attention when they said the inadvertent whistle and that they were going to replay the down. I was like, okay, cool. And like, Steph's dad's here, and so we were just kind of talking about it and everything. And then I turned back to the TV, and they're in the middle of reviewing it. I'm like, what the hell are they reviewing? Why is the game not? I mean, why didn't they just replay the down? And then it's like, okay, I've never seen that. They actually made a call on the field, and then I guess they ignored it.
They made two calls, and I need to look in to see if, like, for instance, like there's penalties that once you call them, you can't negate them, right? So, like, pass interference can't be called from the booth. That's just one of those things that can't happen, right? Targeting can be called from the booth, but if targeting is called, they can say, okay, that really wasn't targeting, and they can pick. There's no penalty for targeting, right? They can do that. They can't do that for false start. So once the call is made for false start, that's the call. And I don't know if inadvertent whistle is one of those types of calls. It's actually a very vague rule. It's called inadvertent whistle rule 4.2.3. And there's tons of different situations where they try to explain how this works. But every single one of them ends up with a replay of the down.
Yeah.
So right now there is like 4.23, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different variations of 4.23 And they give instances for all of these, and every single one of them results in replay of the down. So they made inadvertent whistle and then didn't replay the down.
Yeah,
I
there
was
absolutely
super
was a
surprised.
whistle, right? Because I mean,
Yeah,
if I
there
remember
was
the
a
play
whistle.
correctly, the line judge that was near the bottom of the screen called the backwards pass. He put his
Correct.
arm up, signaling the backwards pass, and then I think the ref that was up because the pass went away from that ref towards the other sideline, towards the top of our screen that we were watching. And I guess that ref is the one that when the pass was incomplete, he blew the whistle for an incomplete pass and to signal the play over. And so, yeah, I mean, I could see how that would happen. He doesn't necessarily see the ref 53 yards away on the other side of the field call the backwards pass, although I'm assuming they're trained to look for that because some ref is supposed to be in charge of calling a backwards pass, and so they need to check that. But at the same time, you could see how that would happen. And I mean, the rule is to replay the down. I don't know what happened. I mean, they never even explained why that call was not what they went with. They actually called inadvertent whistle and then didn't do it. Like didn't go with the rule. Just
Yeah,
completely ignored
and
that.
here's the thing: it's not like, "What's up, Golden Blue Dude?"
I can imagine could you imagine if you were at that game and you didn't have like TV commentary telling you what was going on?
Yeah, you would be so confused. I mean, and I understand. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm never saying you should do this, but I can understand why that student section standing down there in the pouring behind rain was mad enough to throw stuff on the field after that debacle. I get
Yeah.
it. I 100% get it.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, Golden Blue Dude says the day after Thanksgiving is hell. I hate it. Why is that, sir? Why do you hate it? And while we're waiting on his response, Jason Hughes. I'm not sure if he's trolling, if he's just looking for attention, or if he's being sincere. But he says Georgia is overrated. They haven't been tested yet. Well, you've got half of that right. They are overrated, but they haven't. They're overrated. They're overrated. So they haven't been tested. I can attest that they haven't been tested, but overrated. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Sure they are.
I would I would say that they were tested in the Mizzou game, right? I mean, I know as Georgia fans, we don't want to admit that we were tested against Mizzou, but I mean that was a game they had. Again, going back to what I was saying earlier, that was a game that they had to come from behind and win. So I mean, yeah, I mean this is another example of Georgia having to do something. I mean, that directly contradicts what you're saying. I mean, this is a team that's blown out Oregon, that beat the hell out of Tennessee, but then played against Mizzou where they had to come from behind. They played against Kentucky where they had to grind it out in weather. So, I mean, Georgia has shown that they can play defense. They can run the ball if that's all that's available. They can throw the ball if that's all that's available. And they can come from behind and win a tough smash mouth game. They can throw it down the field with you against Tennessee. So, I mean, if I'm one of these teams that's potentially looking at playing Georgia in the playoff, I mean, what the hell do you prepare for? Like if you're Tennessee, I mean, if you're Michigan, TCU, Ohio State, I mean, what do you prepare for against Georgia? Like, what do you stop?
Well, yes, and let's talk about the Missouri Tigers because everybody likes to kick Missouri, and that's fine. Kick Missouri, I get it. They're 5-6, terrible team, 6th in the East, worse in the East. I get it. But let's talk about that a second. How bad are they? Well, they're last place in the East, so they must be a trash can team. Okay. They lost to Auburn by 3 points. They lost to Georgia by 4. They lost to Florida by 7. They lost to Kentucky by 4. By the way, they scored more points against Kentucky than we did. That right there is 4 one-score potential wins. Now, I'm not saying that there should be a 9-2 team. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying they're a lot closer to being a 9-2 than what people realize. So it's not like it's Boston College. They're still a pretty decent team overall. And you put Missouri against some of these trash teams, they're going to beat the hell out of them, just like they did New Mexico State 45-14. This same team beat South Carolina 23-10 that absolutely blew out Tennessee. So they beat La Tech 52-24. That sounds like a Georgia team. That sounds like an Alabama team.
I mean, we were down 10 points to them at halftime. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot. I mean, that probably says more about Georgia than it does Missouri in that game. But either way, we had that was a fourth quarter comeback in that game.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a second half comeback. I mean, that was a fourth quarter comeback in a game like that, let's face it, under Mark Richt, that's the game we lose when you get down that much and you just, there is just no desire to come back and win the games. But
yeah, going into the fourth quarter, it was 19-12. Georgia had to score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to win that game.
Yeah.
Now, granted,
we scored more in the fourth quarter than we did the whole game, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So according to the win predictor probability rate, when we were at 10 minutes and 45 seconds in the fourth quarter, ESPN Power Predictor win probability was giving Missouri a 79.3% chance of winning that game. And when the fourth quarter started, they were basically at 78%. So it wasn't until, let's see, it was 5-6 minutes left to go. Yeah, about it was under 4 minutes that it finally jumped to Georgia winning that game to 92%. So, I mean, it was in the final moments of that game. So being tested, I feel like Georgia got tested there, at least mentally. Yeah, Pastor Dave brings up a good point. Is like Alabama could have lost 5 games and could be undefeated also. Absolutely. No, Cliff, I haven't seen one. We keep asking though. I have not seen one. I'm gonna make a milk carton for that kid. I haven't seen him. Do you remember Juan, Keith?
Oh, absolutely.
Man, I miss Juan. Where did he go? If anybody sees Juan, let him know. I want him back on the show.
Yeah, that's the point I made. It's like, hey, when this game's over, no matter the outcome, we're gonna be right here. If you want to come back and talk. But
let me know how you feel.
They kind of
check on your emotions a little bit.
Yeah. That's what happens though, Hey.
Man, you should have seen all of the Tennessee fans that were you did that were here before the game started. We're gonna come down there to Athens. We're gonna take over the stadium. We're gonna punch Georgia in the mouth. Like, you realize Georgia's 32-1 at home, right?
I mean, hell, even after the game was over, if we played again on a neutral field, it's like, the game wasn't close enough for you to really be saying all that, man.
If it was a 1-score game, sure. But if you get blown out, you can't say that.
Yeah. It wasn't, I mean, regardless of what was going on, Hendon Hooker didn't have open receiver. I mean, he did have open receivers to throw to. He just didn't have it about a second and a half to throw it to him.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of running up and down the field ability there. I mean, Tennessee comes in, they think they're going to hang 50 on Georgia. They can't even score 14. Okay, and then it would have been 27-6 if it wasn't for a garbage time touchdown with 4 minutes to go. So, to me, I mean, that showed everything that Tennessee wasn't going to have the whole night.
And that game broke them too, man. Like, did you hear all the controversy about going into the South Carolina game? They were like, they got all kinds of locker room stuff going on apparently. And
I mean, because and not to, this is going to sound braggadocious, and I don't mean for it to, but it's going to sound braggadocious.
NIL stuff, I think.
Well, that too, but whenever you face off against a Georgia or you face off against an Alabama and they're in your conference and you get stomped on, it breaks you physically and mentally. Look at what happened in Georgia whenever we played against Alabama in the SEC championship game. Georgia didn't have the mental mindset for it. We weren't ready for it. We went out there and we got embarrassed. And Georgia had an opportunity to either fold up shop there or go get ready and go play that game again. And that's what Georgia chose to do. So Tennessee appears to have done the opposite. And we've seen this in years past because when there's really no if you're not if you're not controlling your own destiny, if you're not in your own driver's seat, if you're not in control of that stuff, it can make it very daunting to go out there next week and put on a good performance. South Carolina showed up with a bib on. They were ready to eat, and Tennessee was not. And so that's not the first team that we've seen that happen to when they play against Georgia. After that, their season falls apart. You've seen it in the past, and you're seeing it now. So if Alabama wants to play, if Tennessee wants to play with the big boys, they got to make sure that they are mentally prepared. They have enough talent. They got to be mentally prepared, and they need a new defensive coordinator. Good Lord.
Yeah. That pass defense came back to haunt them in that game. Then it's
and here's what I'm saying. So if you look across Tennessee's schedule, they gave up a lot of points to Alabama, but it's Alabama. Now they did give up a few points to UT Martin, 24, but they held Kentucky to 6. They held Missouri to 24. It's like, what happened? How did you go from 6 to 24 against Missouri? Missouri's that bad, which they all say they are. And then you turn around and let South Carolina score 63. It's like your defense is all over the map. So I'm beginning to think that Josh Heupel may be in over his head on the defensive side of things. He seems to have a pretty good offensive plan for most teams. And with that particular style of offense, if you have a good quarterback, you can have a pretty decent record in the SEC. But it's kind of a gimmick offense. It looks like the offense that Baylor runs or used to run. And if they get it figured out, your next season, you'll know next season.
Yeah,
you'll know next season.
Yeah, have you heard the rumors? I don't know if this has been cleared up. It's been a couple of days since I really looked into it, but did you hear like what apparently went on in their locker room?
No, I didn't. What are we doing?
Apparently Jeremy Banks, one of their defensive guys that didn't play in the South Carolina game. He didn't even travel with the team. The story first broke that he wasn't traveling with the team. He wasn't injured. He just wasn't traveling for whatever reason. And so then it came out that Jeremy Banks and Hendon Hooker got into a fight in the locker room over NIL deals. I don't know if one's making more money than the other one or whatever, but apparently that Jeremy Banks guy decided he was going to fight Hendon Hooker and like stomped on the tee in the locker room, and people didn't take too kindly to that. And Joe Milton, their backup quarterback, got in between them. And apparently the rumor is, I don't know if this is true or not, but the rumor that I'm reading is that he punched Jeremy Banks in the face. But anyways, there's a big dust up about that. And so apparently Banks, from the rumor that I read, Banks was suspended internally for that game. And the defense was not happy about him being suspended for that game. And that whole shebang is kind of what led to South Carolina. Basically just Tennessee not playing defense in that game. But yeah, look into it, man. There's a lot of nastiness going on inside of Tennessee's locker room right
now. I seem to remember a day and time whenever we had
all over money, though.
Yeah. Well, this shows me that Josh Heupel doesn't have a good ear to the door of the locker room if he doesn't know this stuff is going on.
Now, none of this could be true, but there's definitely, where there's smoke, there's fire. You know what I'm saying?
On a website that's called what's the name of this website? allfortennessee.com, and this is what they post, and this is a professional news source.
I've looked onto Tennessee forums and stuff. They're all talking about it. So that something definitely happened. Now the details, I don't know who's got the details right or whatever, but at the end of the day,
Okay.
I definitely think there was a dust up between Hooker and Banks. Now, whether somebody got punched or anything like that, but everything I read is that Hendon Hooker and Banks got into a scuffle. Banks stomped on the power tee in the locker room, and it was over NIL money, and Banks didn't travel with the team.
Yeah, so let me I'm gonna read this. So apparently these guys looked into it, and after their performance here, and I'm guessing Banks didn't play in the game, so that would be an indication. Obviously, he was suspended. So this is what this website, allfortennessee.com, posted a couple of days ago. So by the end, there are two narratives, both of which involve Banks fighting Hendon Hooker. One narrative said it was about Banks stepping on the power tee in the locker room, and Hooker confronting him over not doing push-ups required when a player does that. Another seemingly more likely narrative is that they were fighting over NIL money. Reports also surfaced that Joe Milton III got between them, some going as far as to say that he broke Banks's jaw.
Okay,
What
yeah, I
has the
heard
most
that too.
legs, though, at its roots, is that Banks was suspended for fighting Hooker. One final piece of this is that Tennessee's football's defense allegedly quit on the team over Banks being suspended. How true is all of this? Well, after Monday's press conference, we can safely say there's some legitimacy to it. When asked directly about the situation in his Monday press conference, Josh Heupel dodged the question. Keep in mind, he was specifically asked if Banks was out due to a suspension, and if it specifically had something to do with an altercation between him and Hooker. His response was, "We anticipate Jeremy being with us here this week. As far as what has transpired and those types of things, at the end of the day, he wasn't available this past Saturday."
Yeah, that's what I heard too. I mean,
so
very
what
similar
it
to.
sounds like, we can draw some conclusions there. Whether it may have started about the NIL money, and then Banks stepped on the power tee, and Hooker's like, basically, you making me have to say something to you because I'm a leader on this team. And then when you don't do what you're supposed to do, now I got to step to you. And so it got revved up from there. Somebody got popped in the jaw. Somebody got suspended for a week. Defense got pissed and they quit on the team. And that would make sense as to why they let South Carolina score 63. So for those of you who want to know what happened in that game in a very condensed version, just go watch the video I made about how fans watch Tennessee versus South Carolina. Shameless plug. So, yeah. All right, so it looks like we've got some more football coming up here in Tuesday. Thursday's gone. Here we are Friday. So very rarely do we actually get good Friday games, but the game I'm going to be watching today is going to be that Texas Baylor game at lunch. I'm going to check in on the Missouri-Arkansas game at 3:30, North Carolina State. I'm going to watch Iowa beat up on Nebraska, and I'm going to be watching that Florida State game on Florida. So what's your thoughts on today's lineup and specifically the Florida game?
I mean, personally, I wish we had. I don't really care about a lot of the other games going on today. I'm going to watch it because I'm going to be around doing nothing. I'm definitely going to watch football all day, but yeah, I mean, the marquee game for me today is definitely the Florida State game, and honestly, I don't think this is going to be close. I think Florida State has turned a corner, and I think Florida State wins this game easily. I mean, I think they cover. I think they're going to win by probably 14 or so. They're playing really good football, and they got a lot of momentum going. And Florida is not the opposite direction. So I mean, this could be a huge opportunity for Florida to kind of I guess plant a flag in the ground, for Florida, the state of Florida. But
I see what you did there.
It's to be a huge. It would be a huge win for Florida. But I think if Florida won this game, it would be much more an indictment on Florida State than it would be Florida.
If if FSU wins this game, and I 100% believe they will, this is really going to upset the athletic director and people at Florida that wanted to bring in Billy Napier. I don't think I have seen a coach more in over his head than Billy Napier at this point. I mean, do you disagree here?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it definitely looks that way. I mean, when you lose to Vanderbilt, that definitely, you know, I mean, you could honestly go through this year and if you take the Vanderbilt loss away, they got 3 losses. They would have 3 losses to Georgia, LSU, and Tennessee, or 4. I guess I forgot they lost Kentucky. Yeah. I never mind. I'll take back what I said. Yeah, it's terrible. I was gonna say, I mean, when early in the year, I mean, they were still looking pretty good. Everybody thought Anthony Richardson was going to be, the next Heisman winner, and then that was killed immediately the next week. And so it's been a roller coaster for Florida this year. Just keeping up with what's going on with them. And so I don't know what they got to do about the coaching down there, but in a year that you lose to Vanderbilt and to Florida State in the same year for them, I mean, this is a big rivalry game for them. It's not going to go over well at all.
No. Well, I mean, you
would think something would have to change,
Yeah, well, you lose at Georgia, which is expected, right? You lose to Georgia, that's expected.
Yeah, that still hurts, though.
That does hurt. Don't get me wrong.
Lose all they are losing all of their rivalry games. The games that keep you employed at Florida is Georgia and Florida State. I mean, you consistently lose those games, and it's not.
Well, I mean, they fired McElwain after winning the East 2 years in a row or something. So they're certainly not going to tolerate this. Then you've got Anthony Richardson, who for whatever reason, I don't understand it. I really don't. For whatever reason, there was all this hype that surrounded Anthony Richardson. The dude has never had a season where he's thrown 60% or better. Never. This year he's at 55.5%. Listen, I'm in my 40s, dude. I can do this better than he can. Honestly. I'm not saying I won't get sacked every other play, but I can guarantee you my completion percentage will be higher than 50%.
Yeah.
I mean, Florida has never, as far as I can tell, has never had a problem recruiting receivers that can catch. I mean, I used to be envious of some of the Florida receivers they would get. These 6'2", 6'3" guys go down there and catch over everybody. Pitts down there, tight end that could catch out of his mind. What happened to those kind of players? It's like, dude, what is going on at Florida? And they go from bad to worse. Now, Dan Mullen was not a rock star. Don't get me wrong. I get it. But you fire him. Well, see, you fired, was it Muschamp and then McElwain, or McElwain and then Muschamp? McElwain and then Muschamp.
Yeah.
And then those guys did okay. I thought McElwain did pretty good. And then people say, well, they fired him because he didn't do anything with the talent. He couldn't get talent. Okay, well, whatever. Fine. How's that working out for you now? They fired Muschamp, and then was it Mullen after that? And now you got Billy Napier. I mean, is Florida flying under the radar about how bad they really are because everybody's been focused on how bad Tennessee was? If you compare the programs,
Napier, obviously, I don't think anything's going to happen to him right now. They're going to give him an opportunity to to try to get some of his own recruiting guys in there or whatever. Maybe that turns around or whatever. But you need to, he's got to get on it. He's definitely got to get on it. Get some people in there.
There is no reason.
But even with what they got, even with him coaching Dan Mullen's recruits, you still have better talent on the field than Vanderbilt does.
Oh, sure.
Probably have better talent on the field than Kentucky, maybe.
South Carolina too.
Yeah, and so
so you're
losing at Vanderbilt is just hard, especially in a year that Florida State, because Florida State's been down a few years, and Florida usually could kind of count on winning that game, but this year, after losing to Vanderbilt, you're going to probably roll in and not only lose to Florida State. I mean, this has the potential of being
ugly.
yeah, and so that is just not a good sign. I mean, you would think that coaching, you know, you would be able to win the Vanderbilt game with the talent gap that they have, you know. But
I think Pastor Dave brings up a great point here. Somebody said he said that I guess Florida thought Billy was going to work out because he was on Saban's staff, and then he follows it up with, "There's only one protege, and that's Kirby." And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think Kirby Smart and Nick Saban worked extremely well together. I see a lot of similarities between them. I just think that Kirby Smart's about 25 years younger than Nick Saban, and so he's got a lot. He's got a lot more energy. Not saying Nick Saban doesn't have a lot of energy. I'm just saying, being 25 years younger and still
yeah,
having that same amount of passion. I think you're seeing that at Georgia, and I keep saying it, and I'll say it again. If Kirby Smart continues the way he's going, I look for Nick Saban to retire in the next couple of years, and when he does, Georgia's dynasty begins.
I definitely think. I mean, I definitely think Kirby Smart and Sarkisian are the best coaches that, and not to throw any shade at Lane Kiffin. I think he's great too, but I think Kirby Smart and Sarkisian are on a different level. Now, don't get me wrong, Sarkisian was already established before he went to Alabama. So
Yeah.
I mean, he was already well respected before he went to Alabama. That's why Saban hired him. I mean, a lot of these other guys, Saban kind of hired out of nowhere and turned them into who they are.
Yep.
But Sarkisian was already established. But going forward, I think Sarkisian will be successful. And we already know Kirby is. So yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Well, let's
and
something
Jimbo,
else
you
I
see what's
want.
happening with Jimbo. I mean, that is the exact opposite direction.
Yeah.
And
And to
he
be
got
fair,
paid
Texas A&M has a fair amount of talent on that team.
a fair
Never
amount.
mind
Yeah.
the freshman class he just signed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They've been in the top for a while. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Jimbo's a decent recruiter. It's just the problem is, Sark is a Pete Carroll protege. You're right. That's what I'm saying. He was established well before he went to Alabama. But
Yeah. Well, Florida's got to be really, really careful here, and let me explain why. I don't know who I would predict for Florida to go up against in a bowl game, but they're likely to lose it. I'm just saying. That would put them on. Yeah, you go bowling. I mean, whether you win this game or lose this game, you're going bowling. If you lose this game, you're 6-6. You're 6-6. You go bowling. I say it's a likelihood that you lose your bowl game.
well, I mean, yeah, that's going to say a lot about coaching, right?
Season.
Yeah, I think the gap between now and the bowl game is probably going to tell you a little bit about a little more about where the coaching lies, because if they go 6-6, which is what it looks like they're going to go, they're going to play against a team that in a bowl game that you would think, just looking on paper, that they should win. And so I don't know who they're likely. I don't know the bowl algorithm like everybody does, where they might not when you get that far down. I don't know where they're going to end up, but you would think that they're going to play against somebody that on paper they should win against. They're going to probably have more talent on the field than the team they're going to play. And
well, they last year, and think about this. Florida had a losing record last year at 6-7, right? So they were underwater last year. UCF is who they played in their bowl game, and they lost 29-17. Now they barely beat Florida State last year, 24-21. I mean, this is not nothing new, but here's what I'm telling you. I mean, if you look at the gap between Georgia and Florida, right? Georgia last year was 11 and it's not 11. Geez, that's what we are right now. Let me get a schedule so I make sure I get all the numbers correct I want to talk about. Georgia was undefeated in the regular season. We took one loss to Alabama, and we finished the season 14-1 with a national championship win. 14-1. Florida fan, listen to me, please. Georgia had more wins last year than y'all can possibly have between last year and this year combined. If that doesn't tell you that you guys need to wake up and go get a real coach, you're in trouble. The gap between Florida and Georgia is monstrous right now, and it's getting bigger because currently Florida is on in the SEC Conference East. They are only above Vanderbilt and Missouri in conference wins. They only have 3. Vanderbilt has 2. Missouri has 2. Guys, you better fix it quick, because if Tennessee gets up on y'all, all those players that wanted to go to Florida are either going to go to Florida State or Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, the emergence of Florida State right now with Norvell down there is definitely going to hurt Florida. And then like you said, the East getting stronger with Tennessee. I don't know what I think about Tennessee this year. I think I think they might be an outlier. I'm really I was high on Tennessee this year, but after kind of coming to grips with the fact that their offense was kind of a gimmick, and then seeing the fracturing of what's happened in the locker room, I think what the product that Tennessee puts on the field next year is going to tell you whether or not this is Heupel is doing something there, right?
Yeah.
Can they do the same thing with Milton? Can they just reload with new guys and still be a force in the East? We'll see. I'm counting this year as an outlier right now for them, particularly after what happened to South Carolina. I mean, to see a team just kind of give up that bad does not say much. But yeah. So if you look at across the landscape, if you even look in the SEC West, with it being down this year, there's still great opportunities to play great football if you're a recruit, especially compared to Florida. So I mean, who does Florida win in a recruitment against? Miami? You know what I mean? Like around here, if you're a kid in Jacksonville or Tallahassee or Orlando, and you got all these coaches coming to you asking you to play football, I mean, what is it that's going to make you go to Florida unless you just grew up a Florida fan? I mean, that doesn't always work.
Here's the thing: that's quickly dying, though. That is quickly dying, because every year that you go 6 and 7, this younger generation is not going to stand around and wait for Florida to figure it out. If you don't believe me that bandwagon fans exist, ask any loyal, long-time Alabama fan, and he will tell you. And Georgia fans will tell you too. I have never seen so many Georgia fans until we won a national championship. Go back to my channel 4 or 5 years ago when we were 8-5. 6 years ago, we were 8-5. There wasn't nobody around. There was nobody around. And then Georgia starts getting, better than we were. We were doing these 10-win seasons with Mark Richt, but we weren't beating the good teams. So we had this reputation of, well, they'll win, 8, 9, 10 games a season, but they won't do well against the top 10, which was true. And that prevented us from winning a national championship. When Georgia made the change and Kirby Smart started kicking tail, started getting these recruiting classes, man, fans started showing up. So these younger kids, if they want to go play on prime time, they don't want to be stuck on ESPN on a Friday night. They want to be playing Saturday on prime time television. Yeah. Guess who's getting those spots? It ain't Florida.
Yeah.
The Florida State game is getting a primetime spot because this is a rivalry game. And I consider 7:30 to be primetime. I know some people say 3:30 or whatever, but you're never going to convince me that Missouri versus Arkansas is a better game than Florida State Florida. But
yeah, I'm excited to watch this game though. I just I like I like Florida getting beat up. So
yeah,
it's entertaining to me. Well, I like Florida State getting beat up too. Don't get me wrong. I wish these teams would play to a 0-0 tie. but
Both of them take an L, right?
yeah, give them both an
The
L.
good,
But
yeah.
I hate Florida just a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm okay with Florida. I'm okay with Florida State or Florida losing this game. Fine with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, here's what we need, folks. I don't know. We got 20 people in here. We need about $4 a piece, maybe $5 a piece from everybody here. And then me and Keith can go to the Georgia game because you can currently get tickets for $43 a piece right now. So if you want to go to one of those games, Keith, we can go to the game tomorrow.
Yeah, we can afford that one.
Yeah, I can swing that one. You can get down to like 303, which is on the visitor side, which is not the main bowl. It's not the upper top, but it's the next row up for like $60. So I'm betting, and I'm just letting you guys know, if you've been to a Georgia game, excuse me, if you've been to a Georgia game, not all those seats get filled up. There's often a couple of seats that's kind of stragglers, and so if you were to venture down into those seats, which I have done on occasion, most of the time those people just didn't come to the game. The seats sold, but they didn't come to the game.
Yeah. So. Speaking of like game times and stuff, like why is Michigan Ohio State at 12 tomorrow?
You know, I thought about that.
That's an 11 a.m. local start too.
Yeah, that's really weird. Let me pull it up here real quick.
And you look like the other game, like they have games at 3:30 that they could. I mean, I don't know if Fox. I mean, it looks like Fox has that, so I think they have the TCU game too. So I don't know if they had the ability to flex those games, but man, that's tough to have a game that has that much significance kicking off at 11 a.m. local time.
It's not something I would want to do. I would want my fans there for that game. But I mean, I got a feeling their fans are going to show up anyway. Let me pull up something here real quick because
the fans will be there for sure. I'm just talking about you got a college football player wake up and play football at 11 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I've always hated that.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of that either. And from what I can see, there's no weather that's going to be in the area that's going to affect it. There's the wind's going to be there in the morning. Like it's going to be, 10 mile an hour wind all day, less than 1% chance of rain. It's going to be about 50 degrees all day. It's going to warm up to 53 and, around 3:30. But the weather is not the reason. I don't understand it. All I can tell you is that the TV shows are getting way too much control over when these games are played.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, why would you want to put this game? I would, and there's no game the rest of the day or all weekend even is going to come close to comparing to this game.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They must have just not had the ability to flex the game to a different time, or I know it's on Big Boy Fox, so that was probably the deciding factor.
The 4:00 game at Fox is TCU versus Iowa State.
Yeah.
And then the primetime game is Kansas State versus Kansas. Move those around. I would much rather see TCU beat the hell out of Iowa State at noon. I do want to see what happens between Clemson and South Carolina because God knows how that game's going to go.
Oh, man, I know. That's an interesting one, right? I mean, hey, I said it last week or whenever it was on the call. I said keep your eye on the South Carolina-Tennessee game. Man, that's the way South Carolina is, man. They just, for some reason, man, as a Georgia fan, we know it.
Yes,
they'll jump up and bite you on the butt right when you don't think they're going to.
Man, we had Steve Spurrier, man. God, that man made me hate him. We would have seasons that would be going really, really well, and South Carolina would be having an average year at best, and then they would just clobber us.
I mean, Spencer Rattler came out there and he had the game of his life. That dude, I mean, if he'd have played the whole year like that, the Heisman would be wrapped up.
Oh, for sure.
That dude was hitting everything. He was just in the zone. I know Tennessee's pass defense was terrible, but that dude was throwing dimes too, though.
I mean, even when they were on top of their guy, he was throwing some pretty passes.
Yeah, he was scrambling. He was making all the right reads in that game. And just, I don't know, it was almost like he smelled blood in the water, and it was just like I'm going for it. And I also love the fact that they were trying to score points down to the last second too.
Oh yeah, well
I love
because
that.
of what Tennessee did to Missouri, I believe.
Yeah, and I don't think Beamer and Heupel care for each other too much, but.
What's that?
I don't think Beamer and Heupel care for each other too much. I think there's been
I
a little
don't either.
water under the bridge on them. But
I think that, and just to be honest, if Shane Beamer, got a whiff of all of the smack talking that the Tennessee fans were doing, like they were doing during the Georgia warm up, whatever, he probably was like, all right, I'm going to put it on you. And they did. And now I don't know if the defense quitting is being a little more propagated for the egos of the Tennessee fan base, or if that's actually what happened. But yeah.
Let's speak to this. They're talking about the probability of Alabama getting in. If Clemson loses, USC loses, LSU loses, Michigan, Ohio State isn't close.
I just don't. Back tomorrow before game time, it might disrupt things too.
I also don't think. I don't think. And I know people want to say the college football playoff committee's got a love affair with Alabama. I don't think so this year. I think it's starting to become fashionable to not like Alabama. But I don't think for a second that Alabama's making a playoff with 2 losses. I just don't think so. And I think if Michigan, Ohio State, if all those things happen and the Michigan, Ohio State game is not close, I think the loser still gets in.
I would take. Let me pull it.
There's just, I don't think they're going to put a 2-loss team. I think if LSU beats Georgia, I don't think LSU gets in.
Yeah,
I don't think a 2-loss team makes it. There's just too many good teams still available. Assuming TCU wins. Now, if TCU's got to lose, I think you need to add that to your scenario here too.
Well, here's what I would say. Here's what I would say would happen. And people are going to be mad at us, say I'm crazy. That's fine. I think a number 1 Georgia losing to LSU, they would still only knock Georgia 4.
But even if in that scenario you had a bad Michigan Ohio State loss, LSU is going to go in that scenario where they beat Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
But if Georgia wins and TCU wins, I don't know. I don't see them. I don't see them going all the way down and putting a 2-loss team in. But
if enough people lose, we could probably talk about getting Washington State in. I'm just. That what if thing at this point is just people grasping for straws.
I think LSU can make it in with 1 loss, but they would need the catastrophic things to happen that was mentioned up there. They would need TCU to lose. They would need Michigan Ohio State game to not be close, to be a blowout one direction, and they would need to beat Georgia. They would need somebody to fall out of that top 4.
Yeah,
and the playoff committee feel comfortable putting a 2-loss team in there. I think having a 2-loss team in the playoff format that we have now, where it's only the top 4 teams, I think you open a Pandora's box when you do that.
Yeah,
and they may be okay with that, knowing that we're going to go to a expand the playoffs soon. It's okay, I guess, to put a dagger in this 4-team playoff thing. But I think if you put a 2-loss team in there, you are definitely doing that.
Yeah. Well, I want to back up here and talk about Clemson, South Carolina a second. So we touched on it a little bit, and Clemson is a 9-1 team. Guys, South Carolina 7-4. Now I know they're playing at Death Valley. I get all of that. I really do. But I'm telling you, if South Carolina shows up and plays like they played against Tennessee, Clemson's going to have their hands full. And here's the problem, is that a football team that thinks they can win is a hell of a lot harder to beat than a team who just doesn't care their season's kind of over. But a team that knows that they can hang 63 on a top-ranked team, they know it.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Now, you throw in the mix here that South Carolina did beat Kentucky. South Carolina hung 50 points on South Carolina State. They hung 56 points on Charlotte. Now, they did have a bad game against Florida. They had not that great of a game against Missouri. Yeah, they beat Texas A&M, but Texas A&M ain't nobody. I don't think this is your every year lay down South Carolina team, and I think if Clemson walks in there and they think it is, that could be a problem. This same Clemson team barely beat Wake Forest by 6 points. They beat Florida State by 6. They beat Syracuse by 6. They lost to Notre Dame outright. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think South Carolina could win this game. I know a lot of people don't think so, but
I absolutely think they can win this game. I think they're going to see a much tougher defense than they faced against Tennessee by a considerable margin.
Oh, no doubt.
They're going to see a better just overall team. However, riding off of that high and knowing what they're capable of coming in there, I don't think they're going to feel like they're outmatched. I mean, with it being in Clemson that you're asking a bit, but I would not be surprised. I don't like the line. Was it 14.5?
Yeah.
I mean, this obviously could be a Clemson blowout, but I think this game is going to be a lot closer than that. I think South Carolina covers. I think Clemson still wins, but yeah, I mean, I think this game is going to be scary for Clemson for sure.
Yep. It's gonna be certainly interesting. Well, guys, it looks like the Texas game is about to come on. I'm gonna watch it with my wife. Keith, I appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, no problem. I gotta do it too.
Yeah, let's get on Warzone later today so I can lose some more weapons.
Hey, let's do it, man. I'll be around.
Right,
I ain't got nothing else going on today. I can put some football on the other monitor and go for it.
Hey, what's going on, Alex MLD? Sorry you're just getting here now, sir. He's one of our resident members. We appreciate you being here, sir. But we're actually jumping off, man. I'm sorry. We're gonna watch some football now. But yeah, I'll get with you later, Keith. Give everybody a hug and all that good stuff for you, and we'll catch you guys later. Have a great day, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Black Friday. God bless. Go Dogs. Hit me up on my email, Alex, what your handle is, and we'll get you added to a group, man. BigDogBread18@gmail.com. I'll catch you later, buddy. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.